Hearthstone Global Games is an epic country versus country tournament where teams of 4 card slingers each clash for national pride. But in the end, the UK always wins.
Wait, everybody knows it's Germany always wins.
Aren't you Polish?
Is winning all that matters?
It's all about fun and getting along with your teammates.
That's easy when their skills are legendary.
Or in this case, you have an ace player who will never let you down.
So we're gonna see the same old archetypes then?
No, every team needs to bring all 9 classes.
So we're gonna see Hunter?
I wonder.
So let's recap. It's 4 regions, 48 countries, but
Only one winner. Get ready
for the Hearthstone
Global Games.
Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. This is Hearthstone Global Games. You're on week number 9 out of 10 of stage 1. I'm Raven. Joining me, of course, is Sottle. We have travelled a distance to be here on time for this show, and I'm looking forward to getting back into some global games now. We took a few weeks off.
Yeah, hang on. Something doesn't feel quite right. Oh, hang on. Hold on. There we go.
Oh.
All right, there we go. All right, we're good. We can carry on. Yeah, I'm also looking forward enormously to Hearthstone Global Games. As you said, we have dipped our toe into the waters of the Hearthstone Championship Tour, but now we are back to the World Cup of Hearthstone, Hearthstone Global Games, and we are getting right down to the nitty-gritty as to many of these games having qualification on the line.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it is week number 9 of week 10 for stage 1. There is 3 stages to this format. As I said, we're in the end of stage 1 so far. 1 more week to go after this one, where 8 groups of 6 teams each battle it out in a round robin.
Compete for national
There we
pride.
go. I was just going to read out my lines from the video you just saw. But yeah, 8 groups of 6 teams each should play round robin, and then at the end, the top 3 teams from each group will go on to stage number 2.
And stage 2 is where we run it all back with a slightly truncated format, 6 groups this time, 4 teams each, and just a 3-week round-robin process, trying to narrow down those teams to the top 16, where they will be entered into a single elim bracket, all moving forward to the top 4, who will take place at a live LAN event.
Yeah, and you know, as we're moving on even through this stage, we're starting to have a rough idea of some of the teams we're gonna see into stage 2, and then because stage 2 is very short, and a good chunk of the teams get through that, then we're getting really close to this 16-man elimination, then to decide who goes to the LAN. I'm very excited. We've got a great mix of some of the big teams. We're talking like Ukraine, for example. Russia have been performing very well, and then we've got some teams that have kind of come out of the blue and generally surprised us a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's slightly disappointing. Of course, I'll never complain about going out and being able to cast HCT, but I feel like we've missed a little bit of the meat of this event, where Gaskin and Lorinda and Falcone have been handling it very adeptly for you guys, and I hope you guys have paid attention. But a lot of the groups separating the wheat from the chaff has happened already, and it's these last few games now that are going to sort the last few men from the boys and find out who's going to go through to that stage 2.
Yeah, and we can check out the groups as well to see how they line up. Kicking off with group number A. Oh my god, I went full day 9 then. Bulgaria and Brazil at the top, but by no means clear cut this one. Look at everyone. It's all still up in the air. I think the only sure thing here is Switzerland are in the dumpster of this group, unfortunately for those guys. But everyone else, it's all still very close for those top spots.
Yeah, extremely heavily compressed group. Maybe China and Sweden should have been expected to do a little better due to the caliber of players that they have, but it's Bulgaria leading the way with by far the best shot of making out Group A at this point.
Yeah, one of the teams that have impressed us. Then we see Group B, United States going at 4-0 so far. Netherlands close on the heels with a 4-1 record. Bear in mind, all the teams will play the same amount of games, so United States are going to be playing in the next week or so to even up that number. We've got Thailand and then the rest of the bottom group, just, 1-3. I'm going to skip number 5, and then 0-3 from Peru as well. So it couldn't be more different from Group A.
And crucially, we're going to have Thailand versus Romania for you today. That'll be our 3rd game, and that is a straight head-to-head playoff. Romania have to win that series 3-1 or better to clinch that 3rd place spot. Otherwise, it's Thailand going through. And yes, Raven, it turns out that after all, the UK does not always win.
Seemingly not. We should have been on the team. I knew it from the beginning. Group C, though.
One of us should.
Yeah, I know. You can stay on the desk. Russia 3-1, New Zealand 3-1, Argentina close in the heels with a 3-2. So definitely those teams vying for those top 3 spots. Even Austria is still in with a chance, depending on how these matches go. We do have Austria versus Australia coming up as match number 1 today. But what I can say is Spain is not looking great at a 6-12 record, a 1-4 match record for this group.
Yeah, and Lorinda informed us just before we came on air. He's the man that's been doing a lot of the maths on these groups, and I trust him when it comes to matters of mathematics, that Russia, even despite their dominant star, are actually not guaranteed themselves yet. It would be some complete chaos that would mean they didn't qualify, but that is still actually a possibility.
Yeah, chaotic outcomes can definitely happen when we're playing this many matches in groups. Group D, though, South Korea, my pick overall for the tournament, is 4-1 at the top of the standings with a 12-7 record, and that's like a 5-game difference there. So that's actually looking...
Checks out.
I mean, you can trust me in basic maths. I got this covered. But, you know, the 5-game difference is actually quite a big difference itself. For anyone to try and catch up with that, it's going to be pretty difficult.
Yeah, and the rest of the group, Hong Kong, Greece, and Hungary will be vying it out for the second and third place spots, and Slovakia and Portugal just a little bit stranded away at the bottom of Group D.
Yeah, all to play for in that one. Group E, Italy, one of those surprise teams, to be completely honest, made up of 4 players from a outside of Global Games Hearthstone team anyway, and they've been proving they've got what it takes to win this group. 4-0 so far, and then we have Norway, Israel, battling it out for second place, I guess, and then it's all up for that third place at the moment. Israel or Norway most likely here, but I think there's still a chance for Finland.
Yeah, Finland have a must-win game today against Japan if they're going to vie Israel for that third place spot. Still 2 more games to play for Israel. They'd have to lose both.
Yeah, and then Group F, we've got Malaysia again. Not a huge surprise in terms of if you know the Asia-Pacific scene, but within this group itself, Canada, Belgium, Denmark, France, a huge Hearthstone regions, to be quite frank. Kazakhstan having Naiman wasn't enough to make them, get a win so far. 0-4 is a rough showing for those guys, but still, that is a very tough group, and Malaysia rocking the top. I don't think many people would have foresawn that.
Yeah, 0-4 and 4-12 as well. It's just a miserable overall game score as well. But Malaysia standing out from the pack in this one, and as you said, it is a slight surprise. Malaysia themselves are a good team, but you would expect, the likes of players that Canada, Belgium, and France have available to them. You would have picked one of those out, perhaps, to be the group winners. But nope, turns out to be Malaysia running away with Group F.
Yeah, and then Group G, Mexico at the top of this group. 3-1 in a close game record of 10-8, and then closely followed by Taiwan, Turkey, Poland, all at 2-1, 2-2 scores. Still more games out of this group to be played out, of course. Vietnam 1-3 at the bottom with a 6-11 record versus the 1-2 and Singapore with a 7-8. So not too much going on at the bottom there, but still a lot to play for in this group.
All to play for in Group G. This is one of the tightest ones overall, and several, at least Taiwan and Singapore, both have 2 games left for them to play. So that entire middle section from 2nd to 5th can really flip on its head depending on how these last few results go.
Yeah, I think Mexico's similar to Italy. Just, we know there's a scene, we know there are a lot of players in that region of the world, but yeah, just coming out on top of that group, looking fantastic. And then we see Group H, one of the very strong groups here. Ukraine, Czech Republic, still rocking the top there with a 4-0 and 3-1 record respectively. Germany, the true surprise for me, being just at the bottom as a 1-3 record so far. So that's the kind of big surprise for me out of this group.
Yeah, I wonder how much all the turbulence and chops and changes that Germany had to go through did end up affecting them, or whether it ate into their preparation time. But of course, now so many weeks in, you'd figure they could put that kind of thing behind them and just rely on still the incredible quality of players that they have overall. But Germany, nope, stranded at the bottom of that group. But no surprise that it was Ukraine who ran away with that group, because they are just an incredible powerhouse of Hearthstone players.
Yeah, the Ukraine team is just absolutely insane. You could actually just say, well, this is just a strong Hearthstone team outside of Global Games, inside Global Games. Just put those players together and magical things will happen. We can check out the matches we've got coming up today, though. We've got 5 matches, as always, as there's a little preview of one of them. It's going to be Australia versus Austria. How many times are we going to mix those up in this series coming up? It's going to be first. Finland versus Japan, going to be after Romania and Thailand, number 3.
Yeah, Romania-Thailand is one of the big talking points of the day. As I mentioned before, that is a straight-up qualification match. We'll then move on after that to Greece and Hong Kong. And then Ukraine, who have already had their work done, are going to try and finish off their procession by finishing off Belarus as well and coming out with a 5-0 record.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to end the day with a true David and Goliath story on that one. Ukraine being so dominant and Belarus struggling so much within their group. And we'll see if they can continue, because although they want to go 5-0, you want to have that clean record, you want to finish 100% top of that group. There is a part where, Ukraine are already through, right? So, it's not that they won't try, but there's less pressure. They're already in the next stage. They might let up a little bit, and we'll see if Belarus could take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think Ukraine definitely have to go down as huge favourites, but we will focus, as you mentioned, Raven, earlier, starting out with the Oz mirror, Australia versus Austria.
They're not the same place.
It turns out they're not the same place. It turns out that Austria is actually also not the capital of Australia. That's not true either. They are separate countries with separate teams, and two separate teams they are, both with stellar representatives on each side.
Yeah, and we can say that just so you all know already, wife coach unfortunately cannot make it for Team Austria this week. She has given notice, so that's completely fine, and it is going to be covered by Ziegenteig, I believe. He's going to be playing as well as himself, and he's going to be playing in a wife coach's spot. And I believe there's a replacement in Australia as well.
Yeah, for Australia, I believe it is Ender that cannot make it. He's being substituted by Twiz in this spot. So again, one of these players from each side cannot make it. That is fine, as long as you let us know in good time you are allowed to name a substitute in that position. So this is going to be a 3-on-3, but still in the usual format you are used to seeing by this point.
Yeah, it's like meeting friends. When you go out, if someone can't make it, it's not a problem. Just let us know. And we'll cover it with another friend. We see the beautiful shots of Australia there. Still one place, or one of the many places we talk about that I have not been to. It's a little bit too hot for me, but still, pretty nice country.
Yeah, Austria again. The beautiful European architecture and green expanses that you've come to know and love from many of these footage reels of the countries. Austria, very, very beautiful country in its own right. But yes, Australia again. Saw the beautiful shots of the Sydney Opera House. Very, very cultured country in its own right, Raven.
And very iconic place as well. If you see images of Australia, you'll probably see something very similar to what you've just seen then. But in terms of these players we've got coming up as well, anyone that really sticks out to you for Austria or Australia, because we've just been casting the Asia Pacific region as well, which includes Australia, but none of the names really stuck out too much in that tournament.
No, it's true. I think, Navi, of course, it goes down as Australia's perhaps most well-known player. He's a huge streamer. He has performances and appearances in these APAC HCT events alongside that. So he really stands out as, the big well-known player, but it's a very well-rounded team in general, Australia. All of these players do have their own strengths. And as you see here, Ziegenteig has the double duty opening up on Austria's side. And why don't you just, for old time's sake, Raven, just run us through this format?
If I can remember how it works.
Okay.
So this is going to be a team best of 5, each player bringing 2 classes, and they are unique within the 9. So all 9 classes will be represented. The players then pick one of their 2 classes to go up against the player opposite them that also picks one. Player best of 1 out. First team to 3 points wins, and in the event of a tie at 2-2, it will go to an ace match where an extra deck can be chosen.
Still got it.
Never lost it.
So yeah, you'll see Twiz is pulling his double duty on 1 and 3, substituting for Ender. Ziegenteig is doing it on 1 and 2, substituting for Wife Coach. And that does actually add an extra layer of difficulty to your preparation, because when you're coming into this, most of the time you're going to have a choice of 1 or 2 decks you're going to play. So you can just really jam on ladder within your practice group, however your practice sessions are taking place. Just hyper-focus in on those 2 classes. When you have to substitute for another player on your team, suddenly your workload literally doubles, and you have 4 classes to cover. And playing 4 different classes at an extremely high level is not an easy thing to do. There honestly aren't even that many players in the entire Hearthstone scene that would claim to have mastery of 4 different decks from 4 different classes.
Yeah, a lot of it you'll see just mastery of one more than anything. We can see the picks now. For game number 1 is going to be Twiz on the Warrior, and Zigentag on the Druid. And, you know, just to your point as well, this is a team format, and the teams are allowed to communicate. They're going to be spectating, and, you know, they're going to discuss plays, discuss strategies as they go. But as you said, at the end of the day, Zigentag will be controlling, actually playing the game out with his mouse at home or wherever they're choosing to meet. And when the high pressure scenarios kick in, it's going to be the pilot that actually decides what goes on. You know, your team can be telling you to do one thing. At the end of the day, you make the final decision. And now, you know, as you said, Zigentag is going to be making the final decision on twice as many decks in this match already.
Yeah, Warrior versus Druid going to be our opener, and it seems that we have seen more and more Taunt Warrior as time has gone on in this Ungoro meta. It seems Pirate Warrior is reserved almost as a snipe deck. It's a meta read deck, right? It's a deck that you pull out and you say, okay, I feel like you guys have got a little bit too greedy. Yeah. It's time for the punishing parade of pirates to really just try and push through and really just, you know, punish you for that level of greed that you have. Whereas Taunt Warrior has just shown to be an incredibly resilient deck against almost the majority of the field. The one asterisk you have to put against that is when you're queuing into Druid, there is a big 50-50 that can go in your favor or not, because if it's an aggro Druid, you've got a very clean matchup as the Taunt Warrior. If it's a Jade Druid, you're in trouble.
Yeah, we've already seen as well players actually flip versions between matches as well. You know, we've seen players that normally take Taunt Warrior for 3 weeks on the row. They've seen to be playing it because they pick it, you know, team do the homework, and then the week they go up against that team, it's actually Pirate Warrior, and that just messes with the picks. So we'll see. Normally, I do think if it's a Jade Druid, you've got the better end of the stick in terms of just picking Druid, because Jade Druid versus Pirate Warrior is actually not terrible either.
I think it's ever so slightly favored.
Yeah, so I actually think if Jade Druid is the choice, and we're going to find out very soon as the players go into this game, then, you know, whoever's ended up with that is going to be a little bit better off. And we can see those get into game number 1 of Australia versus Austria. Twiz versus Zigentag. It's going to be the aggro Druid versus the Pirate Warrior. These players not messing around.
Not at all. And that Spellbreaker in hand for Twiz here on Australia is a recent tech inclusion. Basically, when I say recent, basically since the Ungoro meta, as soon as people realized that Paladin was going to be a very powerful deck, Pirate Warrior needed a way to beat Spike Ridge Steed, so Spellbreaker came in as an inclusion. It can be a little bit awkward in some other matches, but due to how common Paladin is in the current metagame, it's just a necessary evil that you have to include in Pirate Warrior these days to have any kind of consistent win rate. But Austria here sends back the Tar Creeper. What do you make of that, Raven?
Yeah, I mean, it's the presumption, really, that it's going to be the Taunt Warrior, to be honest. I think if you knew you were going up against Pirates, especially because you can go 1, 2, 3, the Tar Creeper looked like an absolutely insane pickup, and who cares? You mulligan it. Get it in your opening hand anyways, draw number 1. Zigentag not too punished for throwing that one away now.
I actually don't mind the decision. I totally agree with what you say, but I think also with the Galactic Crawler in hand already, there was this kind of double whammy where you can say, okay, if it's Taunt Warrior, I don't want to have Tar Creeper in my hand. If it's Pirate Warrior, I have Galactica anyway, so maybe my hand's just good enough where I can just push this mulligan through to try and get a better hand against the Taunt Warrior.
Yeah, I think for me is it gives you an option to Flame Elemental on 2 and Tar Creeper on 3, because with Galactica Crawler, it kills any pirate. You might not want it to kill Patches because it's just a 1-1 at the end of the day. You might want to save it to kill something a little bit bigger, a Cultist, for example, on turn 3 if it comes down.
Yeah, if you're curving with Firefly, though, so you play turn 1 Firefly going first, your opponent plays Nazos First Mate Patches on turn 1, kills your 1-2. There's just a 1-2 then left on the board. If you just then play Totem Golem, Eat Your Guy on turn 2, that's an incredible platform to build from, right?
Either way, I think it's a good position for Team Austria.
It is. Second Firefly is going to come down here. Of course, the Crawler is going to be held back. Australia have a slow start on the Pirate Warrior, but Frothing Berserker is one of those big cards that can really break these kind of stalemate situations in aggro mirrors, similar to how Imp Gang Boss used to work for Zoo, why Zoo was so very favored in all of these matchups that struggled for early board control. Just a 2-4 body is such a hard body for another aggro deck to deal with early on in the game, and it's just such a persistent threat on the board that if it's not dealt with, it can start to snowball very hard. But in this spot, is it worth using the coin with the, like, you have 2 other 4-drops and an undiscounted Dread Corsair as a third 4-drop in hand right now. So using the coin doesn't look like a viable play at this point.
The problem Team Australia have, though, is that if they don't go for the Frothing Berserker and play Raider, then Patches just does nothing. It gets for 1, great, but then it's going to be traded into by, you know, one of these 1/2s on the board, which is why Firefly is such an amazing card. And then, yeah, it's just not going to get much value at all. Whereas Frothing Berserker now says, okay, you need these 2 Fireflies plus something else to be able to kill this Frothing. Well, we do see that Savage Roar is an option here, but still not a nice option. Savage Roar means it keeps hold of just one of the 1/2s, and that's about it.
Yeah, Tar Creeper looks just about fine in this spot. I think if you're going to go for the Savage Roar play, which I'm not on board with really, you've reached the point of the game already where Innovate has started to lose a lot of its value. So you could just Bluegill Innovate Savage Roar and then just clean trade the Bluegill in and push and retain your board state. But I like Tar Creeper just a lot more than that straight up.
They're just going to put a stopper on the Frothing Berserker. I think the Bluegill as well helped the Tar Creeper decision, because the Frothing goes into Tar Creeper, then worst case, you can just put that Bluegill from hand and just clear off the Frothing.
Well, you just hero power it down, right? If it goes into the 3, you just hero power it down and play your Galactic Crawler on hopefully a pirate that's going to come down this turn. That's the plan for Austria, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Fire War Axe and Corsair, for example, you know, just to make things difficult, you have 2 damage from hand to just throw away. Sure. Raider's going to come down now. Australia is still suffering quite greatly from a lack of weapon in this scenario. Just get to clear off the Tar Creeper, though. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, you take that 6. With the War Leader draw, you are taking that 6 all day, every day.
War Leader, Bluegill available. And this, of course, we've not mentioned it, but a big nod to this is the Finja list, no doubt, with the Murlocs. Yeah. That we probably won't see Hydra, Druid of the Claws that often in these lists either, so...
Yeah, there is sometimes room in that list for a 4th 5-drop. You play the 2 living mana, you play Finja.
Like a Druid of the Claw.
Sometimes there is a Druid of the Claw or a Bittertide Hydra alongside that, but it certainly is a big indicator that there are less of those cards in the list.
Also, as well, the flexibility of, you know, drawing the Murlocs isn't great. You always want them off Finja. But the flexibility of this combo of Bluegill War Leader against Pirate Warrior specifically, because all you're trying to do is just not let them get a board, it's actually pretty huge, because Austria already have the board, and having just that one tool that says, whatever you play next turn's dead, like 100% of the time, and then I can continue to develop behind that, it's actually pretty huge here for Zigantag.
How clunky this hand is for the Pirate Warrior. They just haven't... There's no Nazos first mate. There was no early South Sea Captain snowballing. There's no weapons, no upgrade effects to then go on said weapons. It's just all of the mid-game minions, and playing one mid-game minion at a time. This is basically what Aggro Druid does best. It's the role that Zoo used to be the king of doing. If you just played one pile of stats each turn, they would chew through that and develop past it every single turn. That's what Aggro Druid can do now. Just with board-wide buffs, with Savage Roars, being able to take care of one minion on board way too efficiently and just build a massively wide board state to punish you for it.
Yeah, also, even if you can't take care of it, it's one attack. The minion can be a 10-10, but it's one 10-10, that's it. So, you know, it's very difficult to just aim and clear up so many wide minions on the board when that's all you've got to work with, and it is just going to be Naga Corsair this turn, and Zigantag.
8, 16, 19, 20, 21, a little bit short. Can't get the Bluegill in as well with the double Savage Roar, not even with the Innovate, so not quite lethal in this spot, but that's pretty much a lethal draw in this position.
Yeah, we can just go War Leader into Bluegill this turn, trade into the Corsair if he really wants to, and then just set up the double Savage Roar next turn. Or could just double Savage Roar this turn and just have the War Leader Bluegill from hand. Feels like a little bit more risky though.
Yeah, I think because going War Leader Bluegill this turn also puts an extra body on the board in the War Leader for you to be able to push the next turn. So I think this is the line that just makes the most sense. I mean, you're at 25 here. You could also just all out go face in this position if you really, really wanted to. But since it's such a clean lethal setup with the trade anyway, the trade feels safer. And now with double Savage Roar backing this all up, that is just infinite damage, Raven.
Yeah, we're just going to see a Pirate Warrior game with 0 weapons drawn, not even an upgrade at this point.
No 1-drops either. No 1-drops, no weapons, no weapon upgrade effects. That's not games you win too often.
It's a bad deck.
Yeah.
You just play all the pirate minions and no weapons. It's not a deck I would choose to queue on ladder. So it's just going through all the motions here, just working out exactly what's going to go on and if there's any way to get back into this game. Because bear in mind, you know, they don't know it's double Savage Roar in hand.
Right.
They might think 1 is likely, and maybe an Innovate as well, just because there's been so much mana usage each turn and still cards hovering. Maybe one of the Power 5 drops, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll be looking at the hand, expecting things like a Living Mana to be in there, Innovates are possibilities. Buffs would be possibilities as well, because the mana curve from Austria has been spent so efficiently on just developing minions that they haven't had that extra mana to then buff their board afterwards. So that's a very real possibility as well. And they could also be reading Bloodsail Corsair, honestly, just waiting for a weapon they've never ever had in this position. But it's none of those things, unfortunately. It's 2 Savage Roars, and those 2 Savage Roars are going to end this game right here, right now for Austria, and they're going to get a clean 1-0.
Yeah, pretty good start for those. Just getting the easy game of the Aggro Druid into Pirate Warrior. Not normally too easy, but when your opponent isn't going to draw any weapons, and you get double Savage Draw, that is game. And those Fireflies still alive after being played on turn 1 and 2.
Yep.
That is how badly this game went for Australia.
Yeah, that's exactly the situation I was explaining, where if the Pirate Warrior doesn't find weapons to fight back on tempo and they're just forced to develop 1 minion per turn into an Aggro Druid board, Aggro Druid has so many options to punish you for doing those things. You know, Mark of Yasharaj and make a value trade, drop your Bloodsail Corsair, buff your board, trade out with the patches that you got for free while you're building a much bigger board state. They really have supplanted Zoo in doing that kind of thing now. And it's why we don't really see Zoo ever, is because the other aggro decks are now capable of filling that same role much, much more efficiently than Zoo is.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you just add Savage Roar, and you're like, oh, guess I'm dead.
Right.
We're going to see what game number 2 is going to be. It's going to be Zig and Tiger, as we mentioned earlier. Just filling in for Wife Coach in this series. It's going to be on the Paladin, and Joan is going to be going for the Rogue over the Mage, which is, I feel, pretty reasonable. I feel like in terms of the picks here, playing Mage into Hunter just never feels great. I feel Hunter's one of the few decks that actually has a nice matchup versus Mage, if it's Gunter Mage, for example. Otherwise, I do feel like Gunter Mage can pretty much beat anything except Hunter. I think that is the only class that I would want to actively avoid, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how the Hunter list is teched, but yeah, I think Rogue is a solid position against, you know, either of those 2 decks, I guess. It's slightly awkward coming up against Hunter, but if it's not the most aggressive Hunter, Hunter actually suffers from the same problem as Zoo does in a lot of spots, where Zoo was this deck that could build board states and buffs and push through, and Hunter was this deck that could be aggressive and push damage. Now there are other decks that can do both of those jobs more efficiently than Hunter and Warlock can do. So it's actually, when you're playing a deck that's weak to aggro, it almost feels like a breath of fresh air to come up against a Hunter on ladder right now, because they actually don't kill you that quickly anymore. Now Quick Shot is gone. They only have kill command from hand to be able to push damage. So if you're able to pick apart the early board state and they don't get that big Scavenging Hyena, Crackling Razor Maw snowball going on, it's very hard for them to get there in a lot of spots.
Yeah, I do wonder how much of an impact HCT is having and has had on the HCG lineups as well, because, I mean, Kranich just qualified to championships, and he brought in Aggro Hunter. It had Leroy, it had Secrets in it, had the Explosive Trap, 2 Cat Tricks, Snake Trap, and something like that. People, one, just aren't used to playing against it. Maybe not everyone watched APAC, for example, so it could be a bit of a tricky one just to throw in there. I mean, we're not going to see Hunter, because it wasn't chosen in this match at least, but still, you know, one that could be available going forward.
Yeah, so Paladin versus Rogue is what we are going to see here, and if it's a Quest Rogue, it's basically just going to be about how aggressive the Paladin is. Sometimes if it's gone all the way to the other end to full control Paladin, sometimes then you can run Quest Rogue out of resources if they don't get a resource-heavy draw. But if it's not all that way to double equality, double Pyromancer, etc., it's going to be about how aggressive they've been willing to be with the Paladin deck. And I just got a sneak peek that there is a Cold Light Seer in the opening hand here before Mulligan, which indicates this is about as aggressive as the Murloc Paladin can get.
Yeah, and it's going to be the Quest Rogue from Joan as well. It's a Tyrion draw, not really what Zigantag is going to be after, till at least much later on. Because Tyrion can pip it out a little bit, if you can get there. Because it normally soaks 2 minions up, at least. And then you can swing for 5.
Right. It's 15 damage back the other way if you're not just facing down lethal immediately. But this Firefly from Australia is crucial, and obviously playing the Firefly here instead of developing the quest, because there are 1-2 minions that need to be dealt with from Austria in these Murloc Tidecallers. Australia know that if they do not take care of a 1-2 minion on turn 1, it can snowball with Rockpool Hunter, it can snowball with Coin War Leader. So developing the 1-2 minion first here, just putting the quest on the back burner for now. Joan and Australia both realize they have to gain board control first and foremost before worrying about their quest in this matchup.
Yeah, and I wonder at this point if there's ever a thought to coin Rockpool. Because then the Firefly dies. Oh, he's going to coin them both out. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
The Firefly dies anyway then.
Well, no, there's still a 1-2. You can still choose to trade into the 1-2 with the Firefly.
Yeah, just something that, I mean, we can see that there's Youthful Brewmaster available if it lives the turn after as well.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just it's one of those tricky things, right? You don't really want to leave minions on the board that can be bounced by the Quest Rogue. And now, Joan actually just has a second Firefly available anyway. It's actually pretty huge, but Ziegentag's just saying, you know what, this is a pretty good start for me. I'm just going to open up and go for it.
The prep draw now for Joan, and this is already a big break point as to the line of play that Australia want to take here with the Quest Rogue. Whether they want to prep the Mimic Pod now, try and find an additional minion. The fact they already have all the Fireflies that they need in hand, I don't recommend that line of play. That line of play is more reserved for when you don't have a necessary base minion to go off on, right? Yeah. But they basically already have very close to quest completion in hand at this point, which means preparation is better to be held for picking up a Vanish, so you can net some tempo, or just to prep out your quest and really swing the board state in a single turn.
Yeah, and look at this. We're going to see the Seer come down, buff all the health up of these Murlocs to make them that much more difficult to deal with. And it's going to be a big signifier here as to how Ziegentag wants to approach this. And at least the Tide Caller is going to be going face. Normally, there's a natural inclination to just remove all the minions, make it as difficult as possible to actually clear, for the bounces to happen. And anything happen too much with the Rogue, for example, a big Vanish turn would be a bit of a nightmare as well. Let's go straight off one Firefly, though. Just don't let it get too big.
Patches drawn from Australia, not what they were looking for. The good news is that they had gone prep Mimic Pod on the previous turn, they just would have picked up double patches, which, yeah, it's fine when you've already got the quest in play, but it would be the worst draw in the deck to duplicate in that position.
So many options.
Are you saying sometimes patches is okay in hand?
No. It's always the worst card to draw in your deck, Raven. It's just how it works.
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Unless you're against good mage sometimes.
Ziegentag, on the other hand, after I opened up saying the Cold Light Seer is an indicator that this is a very aggressive build of the deck, the draws since then have been significantly slower. He's picked up Kodo and Curator, which signifies that it's slightly on the slower end of the Paladin spectrum.
Yeah, and the problem here is with the hand looking like it does now, is Team Australia even going to get there at this point?
Yeah.
I'm already starting to feel this reminds me of the Paladin game we saw the other day, where there was just hero power, consecrate, hero power, dead.
Drink with me, friend.
In terms of what's left in hand.
Joan doing the best he can here, so I believe that is now second Firefly and second Flame Elemental. The first Firefly was played before the quest, so it doesn't count in this position. And hey, if you're stuck with a hand of 5s, 7s, and 8s and you're trying to find a way to kill your rogue opponent, Blessing of Kings off the top is a pretty killer draw.
Yeah, one of the frustrations here is that there we go. The Inquisitor wasn't played.
Excuse
me? You heard. That's just the Murloc.
Inquisitor.
It's a Murloc.
Yeah,
right. Because even the hero powers aren't going to continue to buff this 5/5 on the board here. So Blessing of Kings going to fill out the curve, but it's starting to feel a little bit scary because there's just not quite enough damage there. If there was, say, a True Silver in the hand as well, then you could be like, you know what, I'm going to make it. I'll get there. But every single turn, you can see the way Joan's been playing in terms of bouncing this Firefly means that Ziegentag's probably just got a good idea that this quest is getting done very quickly now.
It's true, but I don't see that as being massively discouraging from going face. You know your opponent has to commit a lot of mana next turn to finish the quest, even if the necessary tools were in hand, which means that removing the minions, they're not likely to be 5/5s because you just saw one prep get used on the previous turn.
That's true.
So in that situation, I feel like Blessing of Kings on something and go face was always the line. It's just whether you wanted to diversify your threats in this position. Now, by putting the Blessing of Kings on the Rockpool Hunter, they've left the Tide Cooler at 5/5, which can just be traded out with the damage that's on board without Rogue taking damage with face. But Ziegenteig's saying, well, if that happens, I still have 8 damage left in play with my other 2 threats to be able to push through lethal. So I'm totally fine in that situation. The alternate option was just to make a 9/9 on the Murloc Tidecaller, and then that 9/9 itself would not have been able to be punished by the board state, but that leaves you more vulnerable to Glacial Shard, for example, because you've just consolidated all of your damage into one minion.
Yeah, now all Jowen's got here is to just trade everything but the rock pool off. There's 1 damage required from Ziegenteig here just to straight up win this game, and Jowen just hasn't got there fast enough. Not floating because he used the dagger, but almost floating 3 mana is not what you want to do as Quest Rogue.
Rock Pool Hunter from the heavens. I'm actually slightly mad that that was drawn, because if the damage wasn't drawn, I think it was actually a really interesting call whether to push the 6 face in that position, because that was both Fireflies and both Flame Elementals you'd seen committed to the board at that point, which was where the quest line was. So by removing the board, you can actually neuter Rogue's entire win condition until they get to Igneous Elemental, which would be way too slow. But then on the other side of that, 6 damage to face just feels pretty good, right?
Well, I think as well that the other line you talked about could have been a consideration because, well, your hand is then curated Tyrion.
Right.
You know, like, you have the end game. You like, you know, the whole point was there was sort of the mid game missing there for Ziegenteig, but that Blessing of Kings was heaven sent. Now, the next game we've got coming up, this could be a quick... This could be a quick series overall if Austria go 3-0. Johnny Stone finishes up this game against Fizz. This could be off to a very quick start. Now you and Game King not even needing to personally pilot a deck, but as we said, they are on all team communication. So it is a team effort, and I like Johnny Stone. He's a cool guy.
Tell me more. Why do you like Johnny Stone?
Well, one, I met him first and hung out a lot with him and Camlin at DreamHack.
Okay.
It was like a year and a half ago now, I think. Wow, it was a while ago.
Summer?
It was summer,
Okay.
yeah. So it was quite a while ago, and he was just a super cool guy to hang out with. And then and then he started streaming more and more. He streams now, well, not now, but he streams pretty much daily. And I always check out his stream. He's always doing a nice mix of stuff. Try harding one day, playing cool decks another day as well. So yeah, just a cool guy, very informative, very intelligent. Good at the game, good at explaining what he's doing as well. So just a well-rounded, nice guy and a good Hearthstone player.
A glowing testimony from Raven there. Raven's got a friend, guys. It's gonna be Priest coming up against Warrior though, and Priest chosen over the Shaman in this position. You're going up against the Warrior Warlock lineup from Johnny Stone, which is a pretty clear indicator that you're going up against Warrior. So specifically, what kind of Shaman deck are you packing here that you don't want to run into Warrior? Is it likely that it's an Evolved Shaman? He's scared of Quest Warrior? Is that the dynamic that's happening?
It could be, and it could also be that if it's one of these sort of the Echo Shaman and then it's Pirate Warrior, then actually you're in a bit of problems because often, you run Hot Spring Guardians.
Spring Guardian's a hell of a card.
Pirate Warrior is a hell of a deck. Like, you have to draw the Hot Spring.
Yeah.
Then it has to not be cleaned up. The second it's cleaned up, it's just game.
Realistically, the game plan in that kind of matchup is to fight for board control with your early board control cards, J-Claws, Maelstrom Portal, etc. And then later on, you're doing like Hot Spring Guardian, Spirit Echo plays, right? Like that's the plan. And I agree, that's only a particular percentage draw of your deck that happens. Whereas apart from the very last Pirate Warrior game that we saw, Pirate Warrior does its thing pretty consistently. Its mana curve is built to do that with consistency. That is the inherent advantage of playing an aggressive deck in Hearthstone.
Yeah, it's going to be Pirate Warrior from Johnny Stone, and it's going to be Dragon Priest from Twiz. And Dragon Priest just sort of jumps up and down in popularity, I feel, on ladder and in tournaments. It's definitely strong, but I feel it has moments where it's stronger than others based on what the meta looks like at any given time. HGG is a little bit different because you have to bring a deck for every single class. So you need to bring something. It's not like, oh, well, I just won't bring a Priest to this format. You have to. But yeah, what do you think on this versus Silence Priest? Because Silence Priest is not exactly weak as a deck.
I am a big fan of Silence Priest as a deck, both in terms of its power level and its contribution to the game. I think Silence Priest is a complicated deck to play. I think Silence Priest is a complicated deck to play against. So its spot in the meta actually raises, the average skill of a game of Hearthstone. But Dragon Priest is just the king of value deck, really, and I think that's the position of it in the meta, is when there's a bunch of decks hanging around that are trying to outvalue other decks. Dragon Priest just shows up as kind of the antithesis of Pirate Warrior in that spot. You know, you can, if people are trying to go too greedy and too value, you can bring Pirate Warrior and say, well, I don't care about value. I have the value of smacking you in the face. Or you can bring Dragon Priest and say, I don't care how much value you have in your deck, you don't beat the value in Dragon Priest.
Yeah, especially with the popularity of Gunter Mage. Like, Dragon Priest is a pretty good matchup there. But look at this opening hand. There is, in fact, a weapon available, which is a lot more we can say from the last Pirate Warrior game. Fire War Axe, and now in combination with potential Bloodsail Raider and a Dread Corsair next turn, is off to a pretty good start for Johnny Stone so far.
And Fiery War Axe is just the absolute dream in this matchup. Fiery War Axe has been a card that Priest has historically struggled to deal with since the beginning of time. It's been one of the big frustrations. It's why Priest players have always cried out for wanting early game minions to be able to push out, because they've never been able to compete with this. I remember running a Design a Priest 2-drop competition, Design a Priest card competition in collaboration with PC Gamer. And one of the rules that I imposed was, if your card just dies to Fiery War Axe, I am ignoring it. Like, that is just not what Priest needs. So in this spot, you can see the power of Fiery War Axe straight away, just netting a massive amount of tempo. If any minion that came down there, be it Radiant Elemental, would just get smashed off the board. The fact that it's Netherspite Historian here, Johnny Stone is even considering the fact that he has the luxury of just ignoring it, since he has a big, powerful upgrade on this on following turns with the Bloodsail Cultist.
Yeah, you can't really argue with it, to be honest. It's just so much pressure early on. I actually designed a card for that Priest thing.
What was your card?
I can't recall as much now, but you have to bear in mind when Priest was bad as well, right? I think it was a 2-mana 2/4 at the start of your...
Check one, doesn't die to Fiery War Axe.
There you go.
Yep.
At the start of your turn, gain 1 health.
Oof! That's a good card.
Yeah, but Priest needed a good card at that point, so I was like, yes, it's OP.
What they got was Draconid Operative, so actually ruling cards out by saying, wow, that card looks nuts. Well, they ended up with a nuts card anyway.
Yep. Potion of Madness is going to be pretty good in this matchup overall. If there was some lower attack minions on the board, normally it's really nice versus Nazos First Mate openings, just because you just clean the pirates up. Going into turn 3, you don't want pirates on the board at all, because of Cultist is a huge threat. Ooh. Now just getting out that Twilight Drake. Dragon's probably just going to live. Start trading off some of these minions. Also, there is Priest of the Feast and a couple of 1-mana spells available for Team Australia, so there is a chance at some healing a little bit later on. But the problem is, with this much power, and then Leroy, Heroic Strike, Corcoran Elite in hand as pure damage, and Dragon Priest doesn't really play that many taunts. Just get him. I love it.
So you can push 12 more from this point this turn, put your opponent down to 16, which means with Leroy from hand and the weapon, you only need to retain 6 damage in play and not have the Priest heal from this spot to have lethal. So, I mean, yeah, Priest of the Feast and some 1-mana spells are in hand, but it's only a 4-mana turn for Australia in this spot. Looks like Priest of the Feast might just be coming down too late.
Yeah, even if there was Dragonfire Potion available as soon as possible, Johnny Stone's just seen the coin used. He's got 2 turns minimum till that comes down. 2 turns is all he needs at this point. And I feel like this, and I feel one of the underrated cards in Pirate Warrior doesn't get enough attention. Dread Corsair does silly things. Okay. Especially when you can play it aggressively. You know, you do the War Axe with either an upgrade or just the 1-mana spare. Because this is just that extra 1. It's just a buffer between any minion and the actual bigger pirates in general, especially when you're hiding a Frothing behind it.
Yeah.
And also, you normally combine it with a weapon turn, and then you have a 3/3 taunt that happens to be a pirate as well. It just does so many things. I think it's actually one of the key cards in the deck.
Australia just scrambling for a lifeline here, going to heal face over developing any minions, but it's not good enough. The Leroy in hand from Johnny Stone is going to be able to end this game. That is 13 damage represented already, plus the 6 from the Leroy.
You see Twiz just like, yep, Pirate Warrior, you got me.
There you go. Clappers in the chat. Twiz thinks Johnny Stone deserves a round of applause, thinks that Austria deserve a round of applause for this win. I know how all you guys love seeing Pirate Warrior.
I definitely do. It's a great deck. Imagine if Pirate Warrior didn't exist. The meta would be raw control, and look at Johnny's pixelated face, looking very happy there.
We're ready for the next pixel.
It's just like it's like a few years ago, you know, when we all first got internet, and like literally, what, a few years ago, I'm being nice.
A few years ago, when Neil was a mere boy of 45.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And like you'd load an image or something, and it would actually load in bars. Like, did you ever have that?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
like the speed of the internet means the image would load like as piece by piece. It's pretty much what that webcam was. But a huge congratulations to Austria taking a very, very clear-cut win over Australia there, 3-0. Look at that. Pretend Johnny Stone's name's in green.
Yeah, I'll just fill it in. Oh, wait, we don't have a telestrator. Unlucky.
Okay.
Unlucky.
But
Spoiled.
the
Spoiled by HCT.
As always, the Warrior taking the win over the Priest for them. Just every single game was just get him.
Was a blowout.
Nope.
Try again.
Third time's the charm. We'll get there. It was 3-0. I feel like production just messing with us, like, no, we've got a game to play. It's going to be Johnny Stone versus Fizz. And we're like, did I just imagine that?
It was.
Did we just see what we wanted to see there? Fire Warrior just get him 3-0.
It was a huge blowout, though, every series. We saw a couple of these. APAC that we have literally just traveled from, just walked off a plane and come here. There was a much more aggressive lineup than we saw the week before, and because of that, we saw a couple of series where, from one side, the aggro decks just drew the curve. And I know that's something that makes a lot of people angry when they're playing Hearthstone. They lose to that when they're watching Hearthstone and those kind of things happen. But you have to understand, that is what an aggro deck is built to do. It's built to do that consistently. And if you're building a control deck which has insane late game plays, but you lose the percentage chance of a good start by just playing more and more greedy cards, that is just the role of an aggro deck in the metagame, to do exactly that kind of thing.
Imagine if it didn't.
Right.
It would just be a bad deck.
Every game of Hearthstone would take 45 minutes and go 10 cards into fatigue.
But we see the wins there. Game King, unfortunately, did not get to play Navi Oot either. But yeah, it's going to be Australia looking pretty bad. I believe, are they even out now?
I think so, yeah. I don't want to call it without sitting down and actually
they're in
the
a
groups up.
hard spot if they're not exactly just out now. But yeah, Australia taking the win. Ziegentag looking to be good as well with his name twice on that board. Like, yeah, just get those wins off the bat, looking pretty easy. But yeah, I think this aggressive lineups and aggressive openings are pretty powerful. Actually, we saw at the Americas in HCT. Almost everyone played control decks, and to be honest, some of those games are actually very difficult because the mirrors were just so close in terms of card for card mirrors. It's like trying to edge every little bit you can out of each game. Whereas that goes a little bit faster, but we can hear from Ziegentag. Ziegentag, congratulations on a very, very straightforward 3-0 victory versus Australia. Did you feel any extra pressure filling in for Wife Coach and having to play that extra game there?
Hey guys, first of all, thanks. Of course, because yesterday we prepared the decks, and it was only Game King and me because John is in Greece and Wife Coach is currently flying home from Australia. And in the morning now, I was thinking about all our changes to the lineups, and when I saw their lineup, I was a little bit nervous because if they would have Taunt Warrior. It would have been a longer series, I believe.
Yep.
So that's my next question, actually, is what are you going to do with the next hour and a half or so? Because you've just created time. Like, this series should have been about 2 hours. It took about half an hour. You've just got an extra hour and a half in your life to do whatever you want with.
I'll certainly need some time to calm down because the last game, John is playing from an public place in Greece.
That probably explained the quality of his webcam.
Yeah. I couldn't even watch the last game. I don't know why. Game King could watch, but I couldn't join it, so I had no idea what was going on. I just heard them talking about the game, and Johnny said something like, "Oh my god, I think I might get a disconnect." And
wow. He's so far ahead. Leroy in hand, and then the DC comes out.
That's why they got Pirate Warrior.
Yeah.
So this is week number 9 of stage 1 of global games, and I know to you guys, it's playing in global games is very, very important. How has the experience been over almost the whole first stage of global games here for you guys?
Well, for me, it was a little bit different, I believe, because I never experienced anything like this. I never played in such a tournament. It was really cool getting to know all these players, and the first time we went to Wife Coach's house and all sat together. That was a really great experience. And I think our team, we all, it was very harmonically, and we just, especially the last 3 games, we had quite some fun.
It's definitely easy to have fun when you're winning that hard.
Yeah, I agree.
But no, congratulations again, and we'll no doubt see you soon.
Yep, congrats, Sam.
Thanks.
Well played.
I like Ziegentag. Seems like a chill guy.
Ziegentag or Johnny Stone? Which one do you prefer?
Don't put me on the Johnny Stone.
All right. Oh, easy.
I'll be on Nights Out with Johnny Stone. We got close.
Legendary Nights Out. Here you see
Exactly.
Galactica Crawler Tech coming in big in the first series, and this was just a miserable draw from Australia's Pirate Warrior, which just led to the Game 1 stomp, and you can pretty much take that analysis, substitute the Game 1 for the appropriate number in Game 2 and 3. That pretty much just sums up this series.
Yeah, I mean, just the stars aligned, and this is by no means saying that Austria, didn't play well. I think they actually played well, but they just didn't have that many turns to need to play well.
Right.
Because every game they just got them. Even the Paladin game that's coming up next that we can check out. We just saw the aggressive opening, the rock pull there for exact lethal at the very end was nice. But again, you said just going Blaster Kins and just getting them. They said if the rogue gets the quest off, well then we're in trouble. Let's kill him before it happens. And in this game, I feel a little bit sorry, even though Tviz looks very, very happy about things. A little bit sorry for him. There's just not much he could have done with that opening.
That's not happiness, Raven. That is laughter disguising salt. I am very, very familiar with that position.
But no, crazy first series. We can check out the groups now, as that was very, very quick indeed, as you mentioned. And Austria now sitting in that number 3 spot. Just to remind you guys, the top 3 from each group go through to stage 2. It's all about 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, and 6 will show, you can look at placements and such and be like, well, we got 4th. Doesn't matter, it's just not 3rd, is it?
Yeah, and now we see the group, quite obviously, that is game over for Australia at 1 and 4. There's 4 teams quite clearly above them, and they have played all of their games, so they are done at this point, and it's going to be, Russia and New Zealand really just finishing out the group and just vying for that spot, because Austria over Argentina with their games played as well, they have done their work.
Yeah, and just to remind you as well, it's going to be the placements within a group, although top 3 go through, it will, create seeding, right?
Yes.
Like the groups in the next stage are going to be made easier or harder on paper, depending on where you finished in that group. But that is match number 1. Already done, already a quick 3-0. We have Finland versus Japan coming up next, so don't go anywhere.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.